You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
This episode is brought to you by Visit Ithaca, where great minds meet the great outdoors. Check them out at visitithaca.com. Ithaca is known for outstanding dining and local cider, wine, and beer. And here's a quick word from one of these great local businesses.
My name is Steve Seelan from South Hill Cider. So I started making cider about 20 years ago, and I made cider exclusively from wild apples for the first 10 years. And then around 2014, I decided to plant some actual cider apples in an orchard to start cider production just like a small winery. We have a tasting room. You can see the orchard, you can see the valley, and we pour tastings of our ciders. We have about 20 different ciders that we make. So there are beautiful hiking trails and gorges and waterfalls all over this area. And in fact, we're located right on the Finger Lakes Trail, where in 15 minutes you can walk down to a 140-foot waterfall that's on a land trust property.
If you're looking for a weekend away, you can't do much better than Ithaca. Check out visitithaca.com for more information and get to where great minds meet the great outdoors.
Welcome to Pizza Quest. I'm Peter Reinhardt, and I'm here today with Kyle Ahlgren, the Branding and Digital Marketing Manager for Central Milling and a partner and co-creator with Central Milling of the Artisan Baking Center online video classes. Welcome back, Kyle. It's been a while.
Hey, Peter. Yeah, it has been.
You know, the last time you were here, which was about a year and a half ago, you had just released the video series you produced and directed featuring me, based on, I guess it was based on the release of this book, of my book, Pizza Quest, my never-ending search for the perfect pizza. And a lot's happened since then, so let's catch up a bit.
Yeah.
First, for the benefit of those who missed that earlier episode, what is ABC Online, and what's the latest news? And while we're at it, and before you leave today, do you have any special deals coming for those who want to give it a try?
Yeah. All the above. Definitely have some exciting things happening with ABC Online. So ABC is, and we do have some little offers and deals that I want to plug at the end of the conversation here. But yeah, if anybody doesn't know yet, Artisan Baking Center is what ABC stands for. So it's not the news network.
Oh, right.
Hopefully you're excited about that, being bakers who are watching this. But yeah, ABC started as a Central Milling project originally. It's kind of the brainchild of Nicky Justo. Some people on here might know who he is, but he's kind of an amazing baker, an old longtime friend of mine, and part of Central Milling's R&D and sales arm. He wanted to create this really amazing baking R&D facility so that they could help their customers throughout the country create new formulas and test new formulas, and also have people in there for in-person trainings. And so they did in-person classes and have some really great classes up there. The facility is up in Petaluma, which is just north of San Francisco Bay Area. And you've been there, obviously.
Yeah, I've been there a number of times teaching classes, and it was while I was there teaching a pizza class right after this book came out that you came up with the idea of let's film the whole, a class, a series of instructional lessons for viewers. And so you set up right the day before we actually did the class live for the public. We filmed this series.
Yeah. So what happened was, obviously, COVID changed a lot of things, and that whole facility got shut down. There was no in-person classes, and that was a bummer, obviously, for various reasons. But it kind of spurred me on to have the idea that I pitched to Nicky and Central Milling, like, hey, why don't we take this thing online? The in-person classes are amazing. You get the benefit of being hands-on, poking the dough and talking to the bakers one-on-one. But people who live in, Texas or Connecticut or wherever, it's a long trek over to Petaluma. And so we came up with the idea and came up with a format for being able to provide online classes. Or asynchronous. It's not like a Zoom class. It's just this thing that once you buy the class, it's yours. You can watch it as many times as you want. You can, scroll back over the content, see exactly just how, Peter balls up the dough, and you've got some formulas. And
it comes with downloadable recipes and formulas. And yeah.
Yeah, so it's been cool because it's like we put the effort into producing the class and working with the bakers. We got some really great bakers on there. You know, there's artisan breads, there's pizza, there's pastry chefs. So we got you, of course. We've got Tony Gemignani. We've got Nikki Justo, Craig Ponsford, who's famous for his baguettes and lots of artisan breads, and Nicole Plew, who does some amazing pastry. She's actually the person that's running the in-person classes there currently.
Oh,
So we've got these great bakers, and it's really geared towards home bakers and sort of baking enthusiasts, I guess, who are ready to kind of take their skills to the next level and want like a single curated place to do that. Because you can go and get all kinds of information about all kinds of things and online and YouTube, obviously, tons of free content. But when you get overwhelmed by it all, I'm like, where do I go? And I just want like the one class that like I know is going to be good and is vetted and has like a Nikki Justo professional baker that like is making sure that the content is legit and isn't just sort of like, well, you know, we kind of do this and this, and then at the end we have this pretty looking thing you can post on Instagram. It's like, no, no, no. This is like, you know, Peter Reinhardt, man. He knows what's up with breads and pizza, and he teaches this content on a regular basis. So it was kind of that level
it's kind of
of
reminds me
baking.
of like Masterclass, that whole series that people pay a lot of money to
Mhm.
take, with various culinary professionals and celebrity chefs and all,
Yeah,
and also
exactly.
maybe Craftsy, for people who are familiar with the Craftsy series of videos, classes on just about anything having to do with uh, the makers community. But
Yeah.
yours is really focused on baking, and bread and pizza were like sort of the keys. But now you're sounds like you're branching into other, like with pastries, other aspects of baking as well.
Yeah, I have pastry and pasta. I mean, we're not a massive operation, so it's not like we don't have the level of classes that like Craftsy or something would have, but we are slowly trying to chip away, adding new classes, things that like our particular audience really is interested in, which has tended to be like, you know, pizza because everybody loves pizza. So we've got a few pizza classes now. Um, and then and artisan breads and anything that has to do with kind of more advanced techniques, sourdough shaping techniques, you know, interesting grains. It's kind of not like the basic. We do have a basic kind of beginner sourdough 101, which has been a really great class for people that are looking to get into sourdough bread making. But we're looking to do more artisan bread classes. But yeah, pizza classes. So we've got your class, which you know, we took the inspiration from your book that has all these yeah,
Yeah.
amazing you know, famous pizzas made by innovative pizza makers around the US, right? And you kind of were doing this nod to each one and telling their story, and then also giving an example of kind of one of their classic pizzas.
Yeah,
um
I've got. I think some of the ones we did pistachio pesto pizza, which came from
yes.
a well-known pizzeria near where I live in Charlotte. We also had this. This is here's a photo of the bacon ranch chicken pizza
Yeah.
that that
Detroit style.
yeah, Detroit style. It's a beautiful photo. All the photos were for the book were sent to us by the actual creators of the original version that I then did home home versions of. And then what you captured, Kyle, was an actual class, not just not just the written instructions, but a demonstration class for how to create those various doughs, sauces, and toppings.
Yeah, yeah, your class is still continues to be probably the most popular class. I think it's the most well-rounded.
Fantastic.
It's just, you know, you you know how to teach as you since you're a
Uh,
teacher.
every
So
once in a while,
that's
I
been,
get one of these in the mail from you,
oh, hey,
which
look
is
at that.
a royalty check. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
a little
so we
royalty
love it
check.
when people buy it. But and speaking of which, buying it is not that expensive. I mean, I think it's a pretty good deal. And later on, we'll talk about maybe some promotional deals you've got coming up. But
Yeah.
it's a really affordable concept, and I really appreciate you having captured that, in this
Yeah.
particular instance. But also, I've watched some of the other classes. Tony Gemignani, the rock star of all the pizza guys in the world, is he's got a series with you. What's his series
Yep.
about?
Yeah, so his you know, he kind of did a different take. Yours is like four different doughs, four different pizzas. Sauces like is kind of like more variety, I guess. Like his is he has an interesting take because he's got his own flour that Central Milling also is proprietary flour blend
That's right. Yeah.
that we make for him. And that's available on, you know, for sale
And
on
of
our
course,
website as well. So
Central
he,
Milling is, of course, one of our favorite flour producers,
yeah,
and has been a big, longtime supporter of Pizza Quest. Nikki's been on Pizza Quest a number of times,
Hmm.
And yeah, I forgot that Central Milling actually makes the flour for Tony Gemignani's pizza empire.
Yes, exactly. So he kind of takes this one universal dough formula, which is so it's interesting. It's kind of a more almost more simplified in a way, but he's the master, and so he's kind of come up with this way to really do things as streamlined as possible. Universal dough, universal sauce that you can modify for this one pizza. But he made three different pizzas out of it, and it was amazing the diversity of those pizzas. And a fried calzone, and then he does this little pizza tossing demonstration, which is really fun. And that's one of
Oh,
my
wow.
favorite moments is when he
That's
was
got to
tossing the
be,
pizzas.
yeah, that's
He
got to be a
hucked a pizza
highlight.
at the camera guy, and it was just it's just a funny part. And we actually got one of the camera guys in there to try to toss the pizzas and to show how hard it is because Tony doesn't like make it seem so easy, right? And then
I,
uh
he tried to teach me how to do it. We have a video of him on Pizza Quest where he's showing me,
yeah,
the basic entry level way to start tossing a dough, and how to hold your hands, and then what
yeah,
not to do. And yeah, and then but the learning curve is fast. If you follow his instructions, you can get better and better at it pretty quickly. Here's a
yeah.
photo of a pizza by Tony himself that's in the Pizza Quest book. This is baked in a cast iron pan, so that's another way. I
Oh,
don't know if he
cool.
did that on the video, but this is a tomato. Let's see, what did he call this? This is a tomato, and this is sort of a styled photo. So I think it goes in the oven looking like this, but it's called a cast iron tomato and mint pizza. And this is a pizza he
Wow,
developed. He
tomato
created
and
it. I don't
mint.
think it's served at the restaurants. It was something he created for a special event, and he allowed us to put it in the Pizza Quest book.
Yeah, yeah. He did New York style, kind of a classic pepperoni, but it was just amazing how good has this whole concept of like the make and the finish line, and like I think a lot of the time I feel like with these classes honestly, it's not always the specific. It's more of the general concept that the students come away with. That I mean, I've learned so much about baking because I'm sitting here working with
Right.
you guys to make these classes, and I'm asking you questions that are like sort of the dummy at home. I don't understand. Explain it to me better type of questions, right? Because I'm actually interested in this kind of stuff too, and I like to bake and I like to make pizza and all that. And so I think for me, sometimes it's the general concept that you take away that's like more important than like this is exactly how you make this pizza. But one of those examples with this make and finish line kind of thing that Tony brings up and talks about how he half of his ingredients or so, like a lot of them more than you think, are after the pizza's baked, right? So that's the finish. And so he does all these little finishing things. Maybe that's where you add the arugula or you add the extra parm and the oregano and or
Uh,
the chili oil sauce. And
yeah.
you don't think about that because you normally think, okay, you put everything on the pizza and you stick it in the oven. But sometimes it's really important to separate those things because the way that those ingredients will change when they're baked or sometimes in a bad way, or maybe you want to have those flavors be bright. You want that freshness for that particular ingredient. So anyways, he had this whole make and finish line and the pepperoni pizza, that was one of those ones that was really surprising, like just how good it was. I mean, it's just a pepperoni pizza, but that's one of those things that when it's done right, it's like the best pizza you can ever have, you know?
Well, there's got to be a reason why pepperoni pizzas are the most popular pizzas of them all.
Yep.
Against all sort of intuition, because people don't usually consider pepperoni the king of the salamis, and yet pepperoni pizza wins time and
There you
time again
go.
as number one. So, and of course
Um,
and anything Tony makes is going to be spectacular. And does he talk a little bit about sort of the quality of the ingredients and his choices for where he goes to get things, what brands and stuff like that, or does he
Yeah,
leave that
yeah, a
to
little
us?
bit for sure. Everybody has their that's one of the things I like when we talk through the ingredients. We've always got a section where because for the home bakers, they don't have the luxury of showing up to an in-person class and just having everything right in front of them, right? It's like, okay, it's me at home, like I want to make this pizza, but what do I need? And so we always run through all the ingredients that you're going to need for the doughs and for in the case of pizzas, all the toppings. And so we definitely we love when the bakers will talk about their preference for something and why I gotta use these tomatoes or this kind of sea salt. And sometimes it's like, yeah, whatever, any water will do or any butter will do or something. But sometimes they've got a really unique take on why. And so yeah, he definitely talked about that. And us being partnered with Central Milling, they always want to talk about the flour and the flour quality and
Right.
what's going on there because that's the where it all starts. It's flour, water, yeast, salt, maybe a little fat of some sort. But especially with pizzas and breads, a lot of times so flour is so key because it's most of what's in your bread,
Right,
or your pizza.
exactly. And
And so,
anybody who has ever been to Pizza Expo or other pizza events knows
mm,
Tony Gemignani because you may have even attended some of his, pardon me, attended some of his workshops there. And he charges, like if you go to Pizza Expo, there's a lot of free content there, but people pay for the special hour with Tony Gemignani, and they pay more for that class than they do for the video series that you created.
Right.
And because that's how popular he is, and how he really is sort of a living legend now in our midst, and we've watched it happen. We've been charting that here ever since we launched Pizza Quest 15 years ago. Tony, when he first opened Tony's Pizza Napolitana in San Francisco, we were there in the early days, and he gave us a guided tour of the place, and he was showing us the different ovens that he used, and we've watched him. He was already well known, but watched him become, the I would call the goat, of the pizza world right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got him on tape. Let's talk about some of the other classes. I think if I'm not mistaken, you've got a bagel class coming up.
Yeah, well, before we get there, I was actually just going to mention the one other pizza class we have, which was our new one in this last
Oh,
fall, was cool because so we had yours and Tony's were both, amazing pizza classes, but they're focused on people that, can make pizzas in a home oven because having a pizza oven, obviously like a Forno Bravo or something like that you're a part of, or these
yeah,
big things are, let alone like a Gosney or Uni or something, it's a substantial cost that someone's going to have to, it's a substantial piece of equipment someone has to have. And so we focused those first couple classes on being able to bake in an oven at 500 degrees, and so we really wanted to come out with a pizza oven focus class. I talk
oh,
about pizza ovens and how to cook in them and how to maintain them and what the benefits are, and then have some formulas that were kind of formulated for pizza ovens. So we actually partnered with Gosney because Central Milling was actually had just kind of finished helping them with some proprietary flour blends for pizza flours that they're selling on their
is
site. So we kind of
Gosney
have
the
this.
same? Is that the same company that produces the Rock Box oven?
Yes, the Rock Box is
Okay,
their
so
like
that
entry level kind of portable gas pizza oven.
so
So
I think of like the Rock Box and the Uni as the Coke and Pepsi of the home,
yeah,
tabletop wood fired oven type, concepts.
right.
And
Yeah,
more
so
and more people have
Gosney
these
has a
ovens now.
what's that?
So many people have these at home now that it makes
Yeah.
sense to have a class, catered to them.
Yeah, exactly. And so they provided us, or kind enough to provide us with some ovens that we could use and demonstrate in. And then they also hooked us up with one of their pizza ambassadors named Ines Glazer. She does a pizza catering brand and some pizza touring blogging content stuff through this brand called Lupacata. Anyways, yeah, we worked with
Where
her
is Inez based? Is she
in
California based?
LA, in Venice, I
Okay,
think.
yeah. Oh, so,
Yeah,
so it's great. So not quite down the road, but way down the road from you. But you're
close-ish.
easy to
So,
bring up. Yeah. Uh-huh.
mhm.
So that's great. So
Yeah, so that was really
she came up
fun.
and taught the class.
hmm
Th-
Yeah, so we've got that one on there too. It's called Mastering the Pizza Oven. And basically, we do a couple different types of pizzas in the pizza. We talk a lot about pizza ovens in general and how to use them, like I said, and obviously like firing these pizzas at like 750 to 900 degrees in that zone. So it's a whole different kind of concept and way of baking. We also do a focaccia in there, which is really cool. And so that was really fun. And that class also comes with, for people who are interested in getting a pizza oven that don't have one yet, there's like a little once you take the class, you get a link for a special coupon code if you want to buy a Gosney pizza oven. So anyhow, that obviously it's a whole category of pizza making, and whether you have your own pizza oven already and you're kind of trying to figure things out, or whether it's probably more for people who like don't know about pizza ovens yet. But it's a big difference when you're cooking in there, whether it's with
yeah.
fire or gas and that high heat, and learning how to kind of turn your pizza and get the right blistering on there, and even just how quick things cook and the kind of different effects you can achieve with the doughs because of that quick rise, a minute or minute and a half of cooking versus
Right.
6, 8, 10, 12 minutes.
Well, I
So
think that there are a lot of people sitting on the cusp right now of trying to decide, should I or shouldn't I pull the trigger on buying one of these? My
yeah,
friends are getting them. I'm a little intimidated. Should I do it? So this could be a great bridge for that. And then if they get a
yeah,
discount on top of it, that's great marketing by you and Gosney to make it, give them a deal. People always love a deal.
totally. And it's like, there's sometimes like if you just throwing deals out constantly all the time and just like sale, 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 it can just kind of cheapen the brand and
Yeah.
cheapen the experience. But when you have a really good product and every once in a while there's like a special and you can get that thing for a little bit better price, I mean, that's kind of no one's going to complain when they're looking to buy like a new EV and then you get a discount on it or something. Like, oh sweet, I got this thing I really wanted, this car or something, and it's a little bit cheaper. No one's like, well, this piece of crap.
You're right. But how's that series selling? How long has it been out now?
That's been out since the fall. We launched it with like kind of our fall baking season stuff, and so that one's doing okay. It's hard because anything that's a little bit more nichey, just by in general, you have a less of a wide audience that's going to be interested in it. And so I think that it's doing well for what it is, just like our einkorn bread class or something like that, or pastry lamination, or some things that are like the people that are into it are so into it, but then it doesn't necessarily appeal. So we have to have a mix of classes like that on a platform. And that's one of those things that you think about as a business owner. And I think it'd be cool to talk a little bit about talk about business and starting your own business,
Yeah.
because I think there's a lot of people in your podcast who are these kind of solopreneur, entrepreneurial types, whether they own a pizza shop or they're pizza catering, or. But one of the things that you have to consider, I think, is what's your audience and what kind of product are you going to offer, whether it's actually pizza in person or whether it's a digital product like this. I mean, you have to know who your audience is, and you have
Right.
to determine, do I want to have something that's mass market appeal, like a cheese pizza, right? It's kind of like
Right.
anybody could like a cheese pizza, sure. But then what about the specialty, the people that are looking for that, like, coup de grace, like the amazing artisan sourdough pizza
Yeah.
with the tomatoes and mint and some unique toppings, weird cheese on there, and it's like that's going to speak to a certain type of person, but it's more niche. And so
Yeah.
you kind of want to have a mix of both of those things, I think, in terms of like when you have a product offering, is you want to have something that kind of is a mass appeal, it's kind of a general um, product, and then you want to have something that's more nichey because you want something for people that are looking for that next layer, next level of experience to be able to like
Yes.
kind of hook into and to talk about, like.
And the things you're talking about really are universals. What you're describing for this kind of a business, doing the baking classes, is still the same principles apply in any kind of startup business. Is you have to know your audience, and
Right.
and have the right product for that audience. When I was starting out in business years ago and had my bakery, I met with a consultant and he said, just remember something. He said, the product is only 10% of your business. Marketing is 90% of your business. So you got to find people that want that product. And so that's part of your challenge is giving them, finding the niche and the folks that want it, and then letting them know that it's there, because there's probably a lot of people who
Yeah.
still don't even know that there's this Gosney class, or even the Tony Gemignani class, or for the people who want to do pastry work,
Yeah.
what classes that you've got on pastry, they need to know about it. So how do you get that word out to them?
Yeah, yeah, I know, and it's interesting because like so with your like with books or something where you've got this industry and like a machine that you can kind of like, yes, it's work to get the content ready and to get the publisher, but once you've got that thing, they can kind of put it into their machine, so to speak, and it goes out there and they do that work for you, and they've got the networks and the places where they'll get your book, and obviously got to do some of your own work as well. But when you have your own thing like the Pizza Quest podcast,
Yeah.
and you're putting it out there yourself, and it's your own channel, and it's like this could be the most amazing thing ever, or your own little pizza catering business. It's like you got to be able to reach those audiences, and that's where the marketing comes in play. So you've got like the branding and the content creation part that's coming up with the thing, and then the marketing, and advertising is like actually getting out there. And so one of the best things, I think, I mean, in terms of advice I'd have, and I don't know if you experience this as well, but having an audience you can already tap into is really key, because if you need to go out and find an audience and you're starting from zero, or just like your 10 or 20 or 50 friends and family,
Right.
and then you have to reach that next level of people, it's really a hard, typically it's a hard, really steep incline, mountain you're climbing, and then
Yeah. It's
eventually kind of
the
like tapers out.
Yeah,
But if you can
it's
start
the first
off
big hill and obstacle that you gotta
totally,
overcome.
like
Yeah.
reach those people. And so one of the best things about this, which is one of the reasons why I thought it'd be a great idea. It's just one of the things to consider, I guess, when you're starting a business, again, is like that audience. And how can I start telling people who will care about this as quickly as possible, and as many people as possible, is as we partnered with Central Milling on it, they already had an audience. They already had
Yeah.
people that, were baking enthusiasts that were buying organic, really high quality flour, people that are looking and hungry for formulas. And how do I do this? And asking questions about sourdough and bread making. And so the fact that we had an audience to start with to say,
Yeah.
hey, you guys like baking? Do you want to like take it to the next level and do
That
this
makes
from the comfort
sense.
of your own
Yeah.
home? Then this is great. And so that was one of the considerations that I had for saying, you know what, this has a pretty good chance of success, because I think it could have a chance of success if I just did it on my own. But then, man, I mean, I'd be just this random guy out there with a brand waving it in
Right.
the wind, you know? So you with Pizza Quest and some of these things, I mean, you were, what was the order? You were a teacher already, and then somehow the cookbooks came along, and then
Well,
Pizza Quest.
yeah,
Like, what was the kind
exactly.
of order? And did you have an audience to kind of tap into to
Well,
tell
I
them
had
about this
been a
new exciting thing?
culinary educator at culinary schools, teaching bread making, and I started
Hmm.
writing books about it. I'd always, been a writer as well, but I started public. Once I had the books, that again gave me a little bit of a bigger platform to reach people that way beyond the students who came to my classes. And then the books opened things up. And then my Pizza Quest partners, Brad and Jeff, who are producers in the television world, are also foodies and loved the pizza book that I did, and so they approached me about over 15 years ago now, with the
And those have
idea
been
that we
going
could
on for so long.
let's turn this into something else. Let's turn it into a TV series, and that's how we launched Pizza Quest. And we have our early days were a lot of what we call webisodes, little mini video
Oh,
episodes of
okay,
us
gotcha.
going out there. We're out there with Tony Gemignani and Nancy Silverton, and anyone who watches Pizza Quest or goes to our website can go back and see all those early videos. And then COVID came along, and that kind of knocked us out of going on the road filming stuff. And
Yeah.
Zoom kind of appeared magically to make it possible for us to do these podcasts. And hey, we can keep this going just from my desk here at home. So it was a process of building. But like you said, you kind of have these springboards that help get you to a wider audience. And I think
Hmm.
that's the challenge of anyone in marketing. I notice these days, and I'm very way behind the curve on things like Instagram and social media. But do you use social media as a way to promote these classes?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the primary way that people discover new content. Now, besides of even referrals from friends, of course, but this is not the kind of stuff that we're going to put it, commercial on TV, let alone have the budget for. And so the nice thing
Right.
about social media, when you think about Pinterest, like so many people are on Pinterest all the time getting recipes, and they're in a mentality of just getting something for free and looking at a pretty picture. But if you can say, "Hey, you want to learn how to really make donuts?" Another class we launched last fall
A donut
with Jacob
class.
Bagenstoss. Yeah, yeah, he was on the World Baking Championship team with Nikki back in I
Oh,
think
I remember him.
2016.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And so he's taking those skills into the donut realm, huh?
yeah. He went to career in donuts, and he works for a pastry shop now up in Seattle. But anyhow, the point is, lost my train of thought. He uh
Leveraging it and marketing it.
leveraging the oh yes, Instagram, okay, and social media. Um, we have these classes, and the ability to put them in front of people relatively cheaply. And oh yes, so in Pinterest, someone sees something and they're like, oh cool, I can actually make donuts. It's like something that I think you have to again understand your audience and know how to kind of say, hey, like you're looking at this, you're interested in this, but what about this? And so that's where the content and the ad content really you know, is key, but trial and error, and it's relatively cheap. And so you can put stuff out there and promote it. So Pinterest is huge, obviously, for like kind of baking stuff in general, more like Susie Home Baker recipes. But that's a really good audience there. And then of course you've got Meta, which is like Instagram and Facebook, and you've got people on there that are foodies and following various brands. And so yeah, I think tapping into that and just trying a lot of things. And I work with a digital advertising partner, and so we do paid stuff. We do organic content as well, of course, and launch new classes on there. But that's the easiest way to get content in front of people, and I think in the cheapest as well. There's paid search as well, but yeah, a mix of all those things is probably the best. And then partnerships. I think partnerships is always another advice I'd have for anybody starting their own business is try to come up with some interesting brand partnerships, because you have your audience and this other brand has their audience, and if you can tell each other about each other's brands or tell each other's audiences about those brands, it's a really really great way. Like, so if you're in the caprese world and you've got a mozzarella brand and a basil or tomato brand or something, man, you tell each other about the
Yeah,
tomato guys tells the hit their people about the mozzarella, and the mozzarella people tell them about the tomatoes, and it's like, okay, it's a win-win. We're not trying to force like some random, like we're not trying to sell hammers and saws to the foodies. Like it's got to be a nice partnership. But that's a big a big way to get out there, I think, as well, is doing these kind of things, podcasts or interviews or little co-branded promotions or giveaways. And
Well,
that's another really great way.
you came to Central Milling already with a digital marketing background, and you had the sort of the background in video work and communications and things like that, plus a long time friendship with yeah, the owners of
Nikki.
Central, Nicky Justo and his
Yeah.
and of course his uncle Keith Justo, who those of us in the flower world know as really important and wonderful people. So. You brought a piece to their situation and that fit for their needs, and they had the product that you could build it on. It seems to
Yeah.
me like you've almost, and they, as we're talking about this, and how do you kind of create a new business um, in the current marketing world that includes social media, that there could be an opportunity to do a whole class on that topic alone. It's not you instead of the content being about baking,
Excuse
it
me.
could be about
Yeah.
marketing. Have you thought about ever putting together kind of a how to create a
Um,
business 101 video of your own?
it's funny. Yeah. It's definitely something that I could do. It's I guess it's back to that audience, who's my audience where I could
Yeah.
immediately start promoting this to.
How
And
do you reach them? Yeah.
yeah, we talked about that when we first started ABC Online. The partner I had originally, there's so many partners upon partners, but the partner on my end, he was helping me with the video production. So I'm actually like in branding, marketing, graphic design background, and so I don't really do the video myself. So I have a team of people that do the video filming. That's a whole nother world to get into. I know how to kind of produce and talk and kind of creatively direct that. But
Uh-huh.
anyhow, I had this video partner originally I started with, and he was like, "We should do this, and then we should do our own class about how to do this." You know what I mean? It was like exactly what
Exactly.
you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and
So,
so I think it's a great idea. And the cool thing about these things, like, so this ABC Online is currently on the Teachable platform. There's some different platforms where you can like do your own content creator classes. So if you're a pizza maker or if you're a, entrepreneur and you want to film yourself, even just kind of like with iPhones and whatever, and get this content up, there are some platforms that can make that pretty easy
uh-huh.
to do. Like you don't have to do it at the scale that we're doing it with ABC Online. You can just have one class that's just about, like, I've got a buddy his wife does like a natural birthing class, and so she just offers this class for people, and they put it up online. And it's on like I don't know if it's on Teachable, but it's on one of these platforms.
But it could be on
So
YouTube as well, right? I mean, that's how people use these mediums, is to do
yeah,
one-offs that can sometimes turn into a whole series.
yeah, as long as you can monetize it somehow or get people to pay for that content, so that all of your hard work and effort and whatever is getting paid for. But yeah, so I was actually interested. I was going to ask you a question about just entrepreneurial business. Like, how do you define success? Like, how do you define that Pizza Quest has been successful? I mean, there's a lot of different metrics. There's money, there's followers, there's views, there's sales of books or whatever. But like, I mean, how do you in general define success for your businesses?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we certainly it's certainly not through the money side of it. We have I'm not brilliant at monetizing this. For me, it's all about the creative exercise, and maybe when I hear this term that a lot of people throw around for internet stars, calling them influencers, it's almost become a toxic word anymore these days. But
Yeah, right.
but really, I think there's something to the concept of having influence, and having influence, whether you ever make money from having influence, but by having the credibility of
Mm,
having your opinion be valuable to people. So I think that has been for us the best sign of success of Pizza Quest is that people value what we do here, and the followers that we have, and they're not in the millions, but we've got a substantial number of followers who listen to us and watch us on the video or the audio only versions of our podcast. They look forward to it because it provides some kind of you know content satisfaction for them based on us
yeah.
sharing these experiences. So one of these days we'll figure out how you monetize it. I think it comes down to everyone I've talked to who says, how do you do it, is you build your numbers up so that you become valuable to advertisers. Well, that's part of the game. And I would that's where I turn to someone like you and say, how do you build the numbers up? Because that's not my forte. But I think that's the game. But for me, the satisfaction comes from the fact that that we seem to mean something to people. People value our opinions, and the information that we bring to them through these interesting conversations we have with a lot of interesting people. And really, for me, it's always been my, one of the things that I enjoy doing is meeting interesting people and sharing, you know, what they know and their life experience with others.
Yeah. I think that's a key difference there is like we're in but even you even more so is you're in the knowledge content education space. And I think, I would look at success in that space differently than selling widgets, or selling a product that's a disposable product. Like, so I think that definitely engagement and, like you said, kind of credibility, like influencing for good. Like there's influencing for just selling stuff. Like I'm a
Yeah.
guy that has, 200,000 followers or a million followers, and I partner with brands to sell them to sell my followers things, Hey, check out this new AirPods case, whatever. It's like, get it now on Amazon. It's like, okay, that's a
My
different kind
new
of
super
influence.
phone.
Yeah, the superphone case. But influencing for good, influencing knowledge and influencing and sharing stories so that people's stories and authentic content is getting out there in a way that it wouldn't otherwise. I think that's really like I would measure success by um, engagement and having people, like you said, come to you and say, I appreciate what you do, or hey, what you guys have been doing for so long is so amazing. Can you come do that for me? Or I want you to come interview me. It's like because you become that go-to person for really good, solid, engaging storytelling, real content. There's so much fluff content out there, So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
really our product is quality engagement. It's not we're not selling pizzas. I'm not in the pizza business anymore. I consult to the pizza world because of my background in doughs, but but I don't operate pizzerias. I just my product is just ideas and you know I guess relationship. We're in the relationship business when we and that's the cool thing about like when Zoom came along and other platforms like Zoom that made it affordable and easy to do something like this where you don't have to have a lot of equipment to create a podcast or a video podcast. You could do YouTubes and all these incredible mediums that have emerged in the last years that have democratized the
Yeah,
ability for people to get out there, and some of them have figured out how to play the game to make money, but many people just do it because it's fulfilling in its own right to create something that other people like.
right. Yeah.
So you've been growing yours now. You've been up and running for about 3 years now, 4 years since from idea to conception. You
Mhm.
mentioned you mentioned earlier. We talked briefly about a upcoming class on bagels. Can we just get back into some of the other classes? You said donuts, so
Yeah.
the donut class is already out there, right? Because I
Yeah.
remember when Jacob was on the United States baking team, that went to the Coupe du Monde. So he's got you bring in people with real credibility already who are doing stuff that people want to know. Um,
Yeah.
what about this bagel class?
Yeah, well, so we a couple classes that we have on the book. We have a bagel class. So there's this really awesome brand of bagels called Boychik Bagels. They're in the Bay Area
Oh
also.
yeah, I've had them. They're great.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So she grew up, Emily, the owner, grew up in Brooklyn or over in New York somewhere. And she has the whole story of going into like Zabar's and getting bagels with her dad on Sundays or Saturdays. It's been a while since we spoke. We're actually getting it back up and running
Yeah,
this class. And so anyway, she's got a great story and she couldn't find a decent bagel that met her criteria for what a real New York style bagel was in the Bay Area. And so she was like, I guess I'm starting my own business.
I met Emily at Pizza Expo of all places. She was at
Oh,
Pizza
cool.
Expo a few years ago, and we went to an event together, and we hung out for a little bit, and
Oh,
she told
fun.
me about this story. So I'm glad that she's now part of the ABC Online family.
Yeah, yeah. So we had planned to do her class last year and we had to shift some things around. And so we're gonna get that one back up and running. I think bagels is just such a fun thing. I grew up eating bagels. And shout out to oh no. Never mind. Never mind the shout out. I can like remember vividly the bagel place in Davis that I grew up going to, and I can't
Oh,
remember what it's
yeah.
called. It's not Noah's Bagels because that's where I worked when I was in college. See, my
See,
bagel quest continues.
you worked at Noah's Bagel, so that's an interesting story in its own right.
I know. Yeah, I have a weird baking story where it's like my very first job ever was work like when I was 14. I was working for a company called Davis Bread and Desserts, and they were like a bakery in Davis, California. and I was doing like farmers markets and scrubbing tables and slicing bread, and didn't actually do any baking really there. I was just more kind of involved in this bakery, and then I
Yeah.
worked at Noah's Bagels, and then went off into graphic design. Now I came back to working with central milling and baking. It's funny how it works out that way.
You
But
can't escape your destiny, man.
I can't. Yeah. Yes. Anyways, we got bagels coming up, which is gonna be really cool. Hopefully, gonna film that over the summer, and then we're actually on the. I'm trying to convince Nikki to do a kind of an intermediate sourdough breads class. It's been a really hard thing because we did this really great kind of basic beginners. Like, there's so much to sourdough, and just getting started when you're first getting started, right? And it's like from there, then it's like even more crazy the concepts you can get into, and you don't want to overwhelm people in the beginning. So we have this really great beginning sourdough class, but then we've always wanted to have kind of like the next level past that, not necessarily like this crazy advanced sourdough class where it's like going to lose people, but we wanted to have something. So we're working on that, and he's taken a hard look at that because it's been hard for him to find a baker that he feels like he would be happy with doing that class. Other baking educators
Who did the 101 intro class?
It's actually she was an Instagram influencer. This is funny enough, but Instagram kind of slash blogger named Hannah De La Cruz, and she has a whole sourdough blog and a whole sourdough channel. And so she's one of those folks that isn't like a traditional baker, but she worked really closely with Nikki on the content to make sure everything was dialed in really good, and again, had that kind of like baker stamp of approval on it. So but yeah, he wanted to really make sure we had like a kind of baking culinary educator type person, like a Cyril Hitz or this kind of real, like, or even like a but we've already used you for a class, so we're looking for someone like that could do this intermediate. And so Nikki was like, what if I just do it? I'm like, okay, well, you're a busy guy, but
well, there you go.
It'd be amazing.
Nikki would be great. And you also haven't you done a class with Michael Calanti? Is he on? Do you have a video?
Yes.
So Michael's
Calanti.
Again, a Bay Area local educator, baker who, and it's also
he was on Craftsy.
camera.
Speaking of Craftsy, back in the day, he had some classes on there, and
that's right.
we did a focaccia class with him, which is a fantastic class. It's really, really good because he's just such an animated, exciting teacher, and he did this whole journey through the land of through Italy and talked about these different styles, regional styles of focaccia, and that's a great class too. So yeah, we've got him on there already as well.
Good.
So yeah, those are the things that are upcoming. We're excited about, but I wanted to also just mention, because I know we're getting close to time here, but we have this podcast should come out in the middle of May. Towards the end of May, middle end of May, we've got some things coming up. We got our Central Milling and Artisan Baking Center online. We do a spring sale every year. It's usually sometime after Mother's Day. So this year it's going to be like 14th through the 19th. There's just some deals in general on Central Milling and Artisan Baking Center online. And then we're doing a really exciting, more pizza specific promo. We're doing a make pizza giveaway. We're still kind of dialing the details there, but there's going to be a Gosney pizza oven that's part of that is the giveaway. Wow. There's going to be a bunch of Central Milling flour, our custom Headley and Bennett apron that we have, Central Milling apron, the bundle of all the pizza classes that we offer, maybe even a really amazing opportunity for someone to go to a pizza like university series that Central Milling is sponsored this year. So I don't want to talk too much about that, but that's a potential, might be part of this giveivay.
But if they want to learn about it, just get over to the website then, right? Go to
so for those things, the best way is to either follow either of those brands, Artisan Baking Center or Central Milling, on Instagram or Facebook. We always publish when we have like sales or giveaways or promotions there. And then of course the email list, you can sign up for the email list on either artisanbakingcenter.com and check out all the classes there. And or you can sign up for the Central Milling email list at centralmilling.com. They're kind of a shared audience, and you can choose what you want to hear about, if you only care about flour or you only care about, baking classes and that kind of thing. So you can sort of segment what kind of information you get, but it's still like a shared email list. So email or social media is the best way to kind of stay in the loop. But I also wanted to offer anybody here who's on this podcast and more of like your followers, just like at any time through the end of the summer, if they want to grab a class, Artisan Baking Center online, especially one of the pizza classes, but any of them really, we'll do like a 40% off your first class with coupon PQ40. So that's just Q as in
Oh,
Pizza
for
Quest,
Pizza
and then
Quest. Yeah, all
40.
right. So let's
Yeah.
repeat that again. That's big news. That's actually a great
Yeah.
deal. 40% off
Surprise.
is awesome. So yeah, thank you. I'm hearing about this now for the first time. Thank you for doing that. So PQ40, did you
40.
say?
Yeah.
PQ40. That's the code. That's the discount
Yeah,
code.
and
They could put
PQ
it with,
40. So not like
okay.
40 spelled out, but just
Okay.
four
40.
letters, PQ. We'll probably put it in the description, I imagine, for the podcast as well. But yeah, it's just, I want people to try these classes out. And since we've already paid for them, they're up and running. It's like, I don't mind throwing a good discount on them, especially if someone's going to, again, we're talking about sharing the love, sharing the knowledge. Obviously it is a business. We're trying to make some money, but if we do, if anybody wants to try out one of these pizza classes, especially your class or whatever, yeah, PQ40, and then 40% off your first class. And that's going to be better than what you can get on the spring sale or any of the normal kind of promotions. So,
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And those of you who are listening or watching, PQ40 for, I guess that stands for 40% off. All right. So that's a
yeah.
pretty big discount. So just to give them an idea, like typically what would a class be at full price? And then they can factor in what that discount might save them.
Yeah. So classes we've tried to keep like under $100. So most of them are sort of like 49 to 69 range, somewhere in that kind of mid zone. Yours is 89, Tony's is 99. He has some licensing agreement stuff we had to cover. So his is the most expensive class. Everything else, there's a couple.
Tony's always the most expensive. People are willing to
Of
pay for
course.
Tony. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so we're trying to keep them all kind of like I said in the mid tens of dollars. So some of them there's a couple that are 39 that are a little bit shorter, a little more simple content wise. But anyways, yeah, so 40% off you could get a class for anywhere from like I don't know 20 $30 to maybe $40 or so. It's
Yeah.
definitely a reasonable thing to buy and check it out and learn how to make some awesome breads or pizzas or pastry lamination or cookies, or we have an awesome pasta class, hand rolled pasta from southern Italy. That's a really great fun class as well. Get together with a bunch of people and roll a bunch of different pasta shapes and
That's
make
nice.
pasta.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
super fun. So yeah, we got some really good classes on there, so definitely check it out and
Yeah.
buy
And
Peter's class because then he gets a cut.
it,
A little
well,
cut.
and I appreciate that, but more importantly is for people to be able to see it. If they go to the website, if they go to like, is there like a ABC on .com online.com
Yeah,
or
it's Artist and Baking
oh,
Center.com.
artisanbakingcenter.com, then can
Yeah.
they also see if they're just, again, like people who are on the cusp of buying a Gosney, can they get a sample snippet of what it's like if they go there and see like a couple seconds of what
Yeah.
one of the
Oh,
classes
totally.
like?
Yeah. So every class, we really tried to make it as like help people understand what the class is all about. Because it is a little bit of a learning curve. Like, what is this class and how do you take it and what's it going to be like? So every class has a little like promo video, or you can kind of get a taste of the class. But then on the class sales page, like yours, for example, if you scroll down and you can kind of see some stuff about the class, you can actually see every single lesson that the class includes, how long each one is, and then we have a few of those kind of key lessons where there's a preview. So we always let people view the entire video about like the baking tools that they're going to need because that's a big hurdle, right? It's like, okay, what
Yep.
am I need to take this class? Do I have to buy like a freaking pizza oven, or do I just need like a lom and a few things? Okay, I've already got that. So we always have that one as a free preview, and then yeah, there's usually just a couple lessons in there that will be free just so people can kind of get a sense of the teacher. Do I like the style? Do like what does this content look like? And so yeah, people can get previews of the whole thing, not the whole thing, but of a good amount of it on those class pages too. So yeah, lots of consideration, purchase consideration. That's one of the things with this product, in terms of marketing, there's a lot of purchase consideration. It's not like oh, I see that, I understand what it is, I'm just gonna click and buy it. There's a lot of that kind of stuff where like a Stanley mug, or these, this crazy Stanley mug phenomenon that happened in the last few years, where it's like people just are like, yep, it makes my drinks cold, it fits in a cup holder, I'm gonna click and buy it. And it's like you just buy it, and it's like $30, and it's like psh. But this is like, well, what is it? It's an online class. What does that mean? Is it a Zoom class? Is it
Yeah.
how do I consume this content? What do I need to take the class? So we've really tried to help people understand what it means to buy one of these classes. And so that's why I think just the whole process of purchasing is a little bit slower. It's a little bit longer process for people. But hopefully we've explained it to them and they're just ready to go.
Yeah. And I also will wait for the day when you decide to go ahead and do the how I did this video
Yeah.
class, and we'll get you on NPR on Guy Raz's show or something. How I built this,
I
Um,
built this. Yeah.
but that would be really cool. So Kyle, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing all this.
Yeah.
Thank you for making that discount available to our followers. So please take advantage of that, folks. And Kyle, we'll stay in touch, and keep us apprised. Anyone who wants to see what's coming, what new offerings are coming, or go back and see what's already up there on the site, go
Mhm.
to artisanbakingcenter.com. That's the probably the best gateway in, or just do a search and you'll get there,
Mhm.
and you'll be able to catch up on all this stuff.
Yep.
So
Yep.
best of
Sounds good.
success, Kyle. Thank you so much. Thanks for
Thanks so much for
doing
having me
all
on
that you
again.
do. And
Yeah.
yeah, we'll look forward to getting you back, and when the next generation of content is coming out there, and let people know what's available. And
Yep. Sounds good.
thank all of you for joining us today on Pizza Quest. We'd love to have you. We exist both as an audio version only, via the Heritage Radio Network, and also on our website at www.pizzaquest.com, and on YouTube. So there's lots of ways to access us. And if you access us, then you can access artisanbakingcenter.com as well. Kyle, have a
Awesome.
great rest of the week. All the rest of you, please, we'll see you at the next episode of Pizza Quest. Bye-bye.
Later, Pizza Questers.
Pizza Quest with Peter Reinhardt is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.